Hello everybody and welcome to Human Systems Engineering 101. My name is Professor Russell Brannigan. I'm an Associate Professor of Human Systems Engineering at Arizona State. I'm on the Polytechnic campus in Mesa, and I'm very excited to be sharing with you an introduction to human systems engineering. I thought I would take this first lecture and quickly just guide you around the Blackboard structure here. So of course right now you're at the introductory video, so you've made it here. Congratulations and thanks for doing that. There's a couple components here that I'll ask you to read through. One is the instructor. If you select this Meet Your Instructor, you'll have a brief little description of me. In fact, what the heck, let's pop that up. That's me, by the way, the guy with no hair. Please read this through when you get a chance. I'm Russell Brannigan, as I mentioned. I'm an associate professor here at Arizona State, also a visiting professor of human factors at Northwestern. I'm also a scientific advisor for Research Collective, which is a human factors and usability consulting firm in Tempe, Arizona. At ASU in Mesa, I direct what's called the User Experience Lab, or what we fondly call the X Lab, where I work with lots of students at bachelor's, master's, and of course doctoral levels. And we've been fortunate to get funding and support for students and materials and so forth from various organizations. This is kind of a second career for me. I returned to academics after receiving my PhD and spending 15 or so years in industry and consulting. So prior to this, I was senior human factors engineer at Hewlett-Packard and an advisory human factors engineer at IBM. I've done a lot of consulting and still continue to do consulting in this particular area. So that is me, but read through that at your leisure, and I'm going to try to find my way back. I think I can click on this. And we can quickly look at the syllabus. Here is our syllabus if you bring that up. And I'll just mention a couple high points here. Please read it through. The idea of the course is to introduce you to sort of the fundamental principles and methods in human systems engineering. So what really this amounts to is what we're doing is applying everything you can think of about human beings to the design of products, processes, environments, and so forth. So since we typically are designing things for human beings, we probably ought to know as much as we possibly can about human beings. And that's what this class is all about. Along the way, you'll develop kind of a fundamental understanding of how people think, more or less. You'll learn about learning and memory and decision making and so forth. You'll learn about vision and how that works in people and what that means for your designs. You can sort of think about it as an introductory psychology class for engineers and designers. We just thought that it was really helpful to have kind of a very focused kind of psychology approach for engineers, and hopefully you'll find this helpful. Of course, it's an online class. In terms of grading for this class, it'll really be mostly quizzes. I think with a class that has this much material in it, I don't want to give you, say, 3 big tests and, sort of have you cram everything into those 3 tests. Instead, I think what we'll do is at the end of every week, we'll have a short quiz. And that quiz will be taken online and so forth. Typically, I'll post it on Thursday and ask you to have it in by Sunday evening at, Sunday night really, at midnight. And then it'll be graded, and that will show up in your grades. The quizzes are typically, say 15 questions or so per chapter, and obviously 15 questions or so per week. We'll handle about a chapter a week. And you are encouraged actually to use your books and materials and things like that in order to complete the quiz. Please don't use your friends and so forth. I'd really like this to be your learning experience rather than a team effort in this particular case. There's one more part that we'll get to in detail a little bit later. There's a research participation component. So what that means is we're going to ask you to engage in 3 hours of human systems engineering or psychology really, research credits as research participants. So this will happen in various opportunities throughout the semester, but we're going to ask you to sort of complete this as early as you can in the semester simply because sometimes the opportunities go away later on. If you don't wish to engage as a research participant, and that's just fine, you have the opportunity instead to write 3 short reports. They're 350 words. To give you an idea, typically single-spaced 1 page is about 500 words. That review research articles that we'll cover here in a little bit. I'll show you what those research articles are. You can choose to do a combination of experiments. So imagine you wanted to do, 2 experiments and 1 report. That's just fine, or 1 report and 2 experiments, or just 3 experiments. As long as it adds up to 3, well, then you're in good shape. Let's see, the articles to review and the instructions will be available on Blackboard, and in fact, I'll point them in your direction. One final thing that's worth considering is you have an option to do a 4th experiment or to review a 4th article for an additional 15 extra credit points. So that's probably worth doing. You should really consider doing that. You'll see how to do that here as I move into that component. Let's see. I think those are the main things. There is one other component. In order to participate in this research credit participation, you have to sign on to an account called SONA. And SONA, I'll show you how it works in a little while, but you'll get an additional 5 points credit for signing on to SONA. So let's show you exactly what your grading is made up of then. As I mentioned, there are chapter quizzes. Each one of those things will be 15 points, and I think I can't remember how many there are, but there's a total of 225 points in chapter quizzes. The research participation, each one of your experimental credits is worth 25 points, so there will be a total of 75 points for that. And then finally, just signing up for the SONA system will give you an additional 5 points. So there's a total possible number of points of 305. And then in terms of our letter grades, they'll follow the typical letter grade approach, which is an A+ is 98% and higher, and so forth. We do use plus and minus grades in this. I should mention that late assignments will not be accepted. I think just with a class this size and the fact that it's a college class, people can get their work in on time. We can sort of plan on and expect that. So here's our schedule of topics. The first week that we're in this, we're going to do an introduction to human systems engineering, just to give you an idea of what the background's about. Next, after that, we'll talk about research methods. Then we'll talk about evolutionary psychology, biology and behavior, and of course you can see the remaining topics as we go along. There might be one change. I'm still figuring this out. This last week, I'm trying to decide what to do with industrial and organizational psychology, depending on how interested people are in this. So that might change. If so, I will certainly let you know. Let's see what other things I can provide in here. Please read through the whole syllabus. I would appreciate that very much. And let's see, anything else I want to cover in here? No, I think that's it for the syllabus. Please read that through. Now, what else can I tell you? This area here will be for announcements. So this will be, of course, where I announce things and so forth. Right now, there shouldn't be anything in there. Nope, good, nothing now. This area here will be the place where you'll spend your most time. This is the course content tab here on your left. And there are a couple things. You will notice that we're using a learning management system. Well, we're actually using the learning management system of Blackboard. But then we're using another product called Cengage, which has your book and some other materials on there. So the way this will work is this will actually show you how to, kind of sign up for Cengage. And then this will give you kind of an overview of how to use what's called MindTap. So MindTap is Cengage's product. And then if you have any help and this is always true. Sadly, I'm not going to be too much help in terms of your technical difficulties, but Cengage technical support here has been exceedingly helpful for me in the past, and that's been true of other students as well. Instead, what you'll do over the long haul here is most of the time you'll click on this thing called HSE 101. And if you go into HSE 101, let's see if I can bring this into the right spot here so you can see it. It will come up with a couple different views. And right now, because we haven't started class yet, it doesn't show much in the way of due dates or anything like that. But eventually what it'll show is all of this information here. Here are the, Chapter 1, Science of Psychology, etc., Chapter 2, or actually continuation of Chapter 1, Introduction to Human Systems Engineering, etc. So these are sort of the modules. And you can click on that, and it'll show you, please read this part, please watch these videos, and here are some articles, etc. And then at the end, there will be a quiz. So that gives you kind of an overview, and it'll go that way throughout the semester. Now, I always have to remember how to get out of this thing. I think I can just go here. There we go. What else can I tell you about? In terms of research credit, this tells you, remember I mentioned the 3 experiments I'd like you to participate in? This shows you how that, we call it a subject pool, how that works. In addition, this part here, this thing that says subject pool presentation, that also provides information in a PowerPoint form of how it works. And then, if you choose instead of participating in the experiments, but want to write papers instead, these here are the papers that you would read and then report on. So one that's an important, in fact all of 4 of these of course are important, but you can choose whichever ones you want to pursue and what you would like to write about them. This link here will help you sign up for the SONA system. That SONA system enables you then later to sign up for participation in the experiments. And then typically for these little reports that you would do, if you choose to do the writing instead of the experiment, typically we would like that to be in an American Psychological Association style. So here's a quick style guide for how to make sure your document is in APA style. All right, so that covers that. We got through research credit. Your quizzes, let's see, some of these things actually will be hidden from you. They're just on mine. There won't be much in terms of web links. Well, maybe there's more than I thought. Here's a little bit of information about our ASU student chapter of the Human Factors and Ergonomics Society. Human Factors is really a synonym for Human Systems Engineering, but here's some additional helpful topics. Let's see, here are discussions, and typically what I'm going to do is have this one topic in here called hallway conversations. Please use this area to ask questions of me and each other. That way everybody can learn from the answers or even answer you. So that will be here under hallway conversations. I'll do my best to monitor this so that I'm answering you quickly. To be honest, there have been occasions in previous semesters where I've sort of forgotten to do that. I'll do my best not to forget, but if I don't get back to you in a relatively, reasonable period of time, a day or so, please just send me an email. That way I get the heads up. Every once in a while, it just slips my mind. Okay. I think that's about it for now. There will be an area in here for my grades. So that will be there, and you can check your grades in that particular tab. All right, so I'm excited to get started working with you guys. I think it'll be a good semester, and I hope you find this material helpful, and I'm looking forward to seeing you online.